So this question says the expression of 4z plus 3 times z minus 2 is equivalent to, and then we have our answer choices here. So it's a single line question by, I just literally mean the question is one line long. So anytime I see that on this test, I realize that usually that's going to put it into the simplify category. And simplify, right, I think of this because I just want to take what's been given to me and simplify it as much as I can. And usually that's enough to find an answer. So these are two binomials, right? 4z plus 3 is a binomial. Z minus 2 is a binomial. These parentheses here mean that we're multiplying them. So we have the product of two binomials. So in order to solve or to simplify the product of two binomials, we use a process called FOIL, where F stands for first, where we're just multiplying the two first parts of each binomial. So 4z times z in this case, which is 4z squared. And then O stands for outer. So we're multiplying the two outer parts of our two binomials. So in this case, 4z times negative 2, which is negative 8z. And then I stands for inner. So I'm multiplying the two inner terms. In this case, 3 times z. So that's going to be a positive 3z. And then the L stands for last. So I'm multiplying the last term here by the last term here. And in this case is 3 times negative 2, which is negative 6. And then I'm going to simplify that further because I have like terms. Negative 8z plus 3z is negative 5z, right? So my 4z squared is still there. My minus 6 is still there. And I see that all of my answer choices are in this format. So I'm just looking for the match here. And that would be answer choice J. Now, the great thing is there is another strategy that you can use here if you don't know how to do this math, although I suggest if you don't know how to do this, that you learn how to FOIL because it's going to be extremely valuable to you. But, if you do not know how, it's a mental block for you to learn how to do that. There is another strategy that I want to point out to you, which is plug in your own number. Right, so we use the plug in your own number strategy anytime you see a variable in the question and that same variable in the answer choices. So let's try this so you can see how simple it is. So I would literally make up my own number for z. I love to use the number 2. So I'm going to say z equals 2. Now I'm going to plug that number into the original expression. So instead of 4z, I'm going to say I have 4 times 2 plus 3. Instead of z minus 2, I'm going to say I have 2 minus 2, okay? So here I'd have 8 plus 3. Of course, 2 minus 2 is 0, so this whole thing ends up being 0. So that's my answer that I get when I plug in z equals 2. The next stage of this strategy is to take that same z equals 2 and plug it into the answer choices and see which one of the answer choices gives you a matching answer to what you got by plugging that number into the question. So choice F, for instance, when I plug 2 in for z, I do not get 0, so F can't be correct. G, when you plug 2 in for z, once again, you do not get 0. And again, I don't want to make this video too long. I'm not showing you all of the work, but hopefully you can either do it on your own or see pretty clearly that 4 times 2 squared does not equal 5, and that's the only way that you would get 0 in this case. 4 times 2 squared does not equal 6. That's the only way that you'd get 0 in this case. For choice H, when I plug in 0, this one I will do because it's a little bit more complicated. So I'd have when I plug in 2, I'd have 4 times 2 squared minus 3 times 2 minus 5. I then have, this would become 16, right? Because 2 squared is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So I have 16 minus 6 minus 5, and that does not equal 0, right? 16 minus 6 is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5, so that does not equal 0. So H is gone as well. Now, we should get J as the answer because we already knew that from our simplify process, which again is obviously the fastest way there. But I just want to show you this because you can use this strategy. It may not be the best strategy for this question, but it can really be a great strategy to know for any other question that has, again, variables in that question and variable and answer choices. So let's test out our strategy with choice J. So J, when I plug in 2, would be 4 times 2 squared minus 5 times 2 minus 6. Again, 4 times 2 squared is 16. 5 times 2 is 10 minus 6. So 16 minus 10 is 6. So to have 6 minus 6 does equal 0, and therefore that does match with the 0 that I got initially, and therefore that confirms, using another strategy, again called plug in your own number, that choice J is the correct answer. And you can see that, if I plugged it into K, there's no way that would work because, of course, we'd have a positive middle term here, which, again, that makes us, we'd have I'll just do it. We'd have 16 plus 10 minus 6. So that does not equal 0 for choice K. So hopefully that made sense. Again, simplify is the best strategy here. But, I think plugging your own number, we're going to see it, especially when we get into more complicated questions. It's a really great strategy to know as well.